You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Folks, welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will.
This movie, like Seven Samurai and The Magnificent Seven, is a step-by-step instruction manual for guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, it sure is. On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves. And Will, we are so back.
We are so back, dude.
It's no longer Jover.
It's never been more Jover than it was.
No, it's not.
Before we ran into each other again.
Yeah, it's not Jover. It's no longer Jover.
It's not Jover. We're back. We're so back. Me and you are the only people who actually like that fucking joke.
Nah, we have legions of fans that are
legions of fans just are like, oh shit, dude, they're
clapping
back.
like seals and pointing at their radios and phones right now.
I love it.
How we had an extended break.
Yeah, we did have an extended break. I had to go work a show in Dallas and then immediately go to Colorado for an actual vacation where I actually got to rest and relax, and it was nice.
That's good. I'm glad.
I'm also glad.
So I attempted to get an episode together with my wife, but unfortunately our baby decided to be the third co-host on it.
Oh, and what was her take?
She just did a lot of screaming mostly.
Oh, okay.
And I realized during the editing process that was not gonna, it was not gonna be good for everybody to hear that. And
it's okay.
I was not able to cut it out entirely, so I was like, just not gonna put this out.
It's okay. I scream a lot too when I watch Wayne's World 2.
You're also 6 months old. So
I am mentally.
That explains it. Well, Will, without any further ado,
let's
get into
around it, dude.
Okay, the fans demanded it.
And fans,
I'm not even joking.
I remember. Did you catch it on like pod? Was I talking about how my boss messaged me while we were recording?
I forget if that made it to I think it did.
Yeah, he fucking messaged me and was like, "Yo, you guys doing Rebel Moon 2?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Yeah, of course, we have to."
I had a couple of people come up to me and be like, "Are you going to cover the second Rebel Moon?" And I was like, I don't want to, but you talked me into it. And
I did.
Because, a handful of people asked us. I was like, all right, fuck it. We might as well. We did half of it.
The first movie was hilariously bad. I still think about you describing the opening scene, and it just gives me it tickles me with joy. It's so funny. So.
Well, and I have to say, I went into this one with an open mind thinking maybe it'll click. Maybe, like everyone says, all of Zack Snyder's diehard fans, they're like, well, you have to see his full vision, because they fought for the Snyder cut of Justice League for so long.
And it was good.
And
it was better.
It's better.
It was better than Joss Whedon one, and so that a lot of people are like, oh, it vindicates Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's actually a visionary,
right,
or what have you, right? And I know that what the discourse around this was, oh, well, it's the second part. All the big action stuff is going to happen. Zack Snyder is amazing at action.
Right.
It's also going to be the conclusion of the story. You only got half of it. Maybe you'll be more connected to the characters,
right, because
they'll have their time to shine.
And brevity is not Snyder's specialty. So to see almost 6 hours of film, maybe you'll finally get what he's going for here.
Yeah.
And,
no.
well, let's get into it. So we're covering Rebel Moon - Part 2 : The Scargiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole title. But we're just going to call it Rebel Moon 2 from here on out.
The Snorgiver.
Yes.
I coined. I texted that to you and my boss when I watched it that night, and I'm gonna come out and say it right here. I'm the one who came up with that. If you see Snorgiver on the internet, that's me, baby. I did that.
I haven't seen anyone say that, although I didn't Google search it. But I did see Rebel Moon 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, that's that's an obvious one.
Yeah, I feel like you can do that with any sequel.
Rebel Moon 2 Rebel Harder.
Yeah, I mean, even that, yeah. So this movie came out in April.
Yeah,
and
a day before 420.
No, April 12th, actually.
Oh, was it?
That's
really?
what I have in my notes.
Oh,
here.
I watched it on April 19th, and I could have sworn that was the day that it came out.
I think you were. I remember you being a few days late, but like,
oh, that might have been.
It was not hyped.
No,
and like even there were fans that were like mad at Netflix for not promoting it enough.
Yeah, well, I think that they realized like after the first one came out to like awful reviews, and even like I want to say a week before the movie dropped on Netflix, it was like 6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It was bad. It did go up.
Oh,
but it was bad.
Yeah.
And well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So it is on Netflix because it's a Netflix like original movie, I guess. Do they even call them that anymore? Because like it might just end up on Tubi one day because Netflix will sell their rights.
God, I hope.
This feels like a Tubi-ass movie.
Oh, for sure.
It feels like a sci-fi original is what it is. The film stars Sofia Boutella. I'm going to butcher some of these names. I apologize to them. And after the indignity of being in this movie, it's like a double.
That's a double I mean.
Titus's actor
I believe it's Jimon Honsu.
That looks correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. Ed Skrein, Michael Huisman, Donna Bay, Ray Fisher, Stas Nair, Frey Fee, Elise Duffy, Charlotte Maggie, Stuart Martin, Carrie Elways. I always get mixed up on his name too.
Carrie Ewells?
Yeah, from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Like the one actor in here I actually have a face for.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins. Oh, and him too.
Who is Carrie Ewells in this movie?
He's the king in the really
You're fucking kidding me.
No, I'm dead serious.
I didn't catch that. That's my bad.
I got a whole bit about that.
That's great.
So the brief synopsis of the film is Korra and surviving warriors prepare to defend, is it Velt?
Yeah.
I swear I don't remember anybody saying it, but I know that's the name of the planet.
Yeah.
Anyway, Korra and surviving warriors prepare to defend Velt, their new home, alongside its people against the realm. The warriors face their past, revealing their motivations before the realm's forces arrive to crush the growing rebellion. It says realm with a capital R, but I remember in the movie...
They're the Imperium.
They're the Imperium or the Motherland.
Yeah, Motherland, yeah.
Is also how I remember them being
I've
referred
never
to.
heard them
They can't even get their own fucking chronology straight. This is the official synopsis. Can't get their own fucking language straight, dude.
Now, Jared, this isn't the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon 2.
You're right. They probably used completely different jargon in the Snyder cut, which is going to add 45 minutes, to maybe 2 hours.
Both movies are supposed to be 3 hours long each.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Well, these are already, what, 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
So, yeah.
Close to it.
The film was written by Zack Snyder, Kurt Johnstad, and Shay Hatton. It's directed by Zack Snyder, obviously. So Kurt is credited as a writer on 300, the sequel 300 Rise of an Empire, and Atomic Blonde. Shay is credited as a writer on John Wick 3 and 4, Army of the Dead, and the prequel Army of Thieves. Astute listeners may notice that none of these movies have great writing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I remember John Wick 3 and 4. Like, 3 was like the beginning of the end, and 4 is kind of like a death knell. Right? Was 4 the most recent one, or is there a fifth one out now?
4 is the end, technically. Okay. Yeah. So I remember feeling really weird about the sequels, especially 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I remember walking out of 3 being like, did we need that? You know,
yeah,
like
I remember
it had a lot of moments. And then 4 definitely felt like they are really pulling this along as far as they can.
I'm bitter with 4 just because they killed Hiroyuki Sanada so early on.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that's the thing. They kind of waste all their more interesting characters.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We can't get into that. Atomic Blonde, I was so thoroughly disappointed with because, like, on paper,
it should be good.
It looked like a movie that was right up my alley.
Yeah,
and then I watched it and I was like,
awesome.
Did a 13-year-old boy watch this? And now that I found out who wrote it, yeah, actually. It was one of Zack Snyder's guys. Yeah, just moving up past that. Both Rebel Moon films apparently shared a budget of $166 million. So they filmed them back to back.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So it's about $83 million per movie or $1.5 million per minute.
Oh my God.
I broke down the runtimes and everything.
Like lighting it on fire.
Yep. Yeah, because the CGI budget, sure, but everything else, I mean, yikes.
Big yikes.
Yeah. Due to the film's streaming release, there is no box office information.
I remember you saying the same thing last time, and that's like very iffy on what, if at all, they're making any kind of like profit off of this.
Right. So instead of box office information, Netflix likes to put out their own proprietary metrics.
Okay.
Which are always like okay,
we made these numbers up. Sure,
we had 1 million minutes watched, and it's like, what does that mean?
Amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
So Netflix says the film garnered 21.4 million views in 3 days, which makes Rebel Moon 2 the most viewed English language film on Netflix from April 15th to the 21st.
Oh, okay. I was like,
that's
ever?
what I'm saying. It's for these 6 days in April. Like, yeah,
amazing.
Okay, and English language only.
Yeah.
So, okay,
cool.
So overall, is that good? And Netflix is like, yeah, it's great. And we're like, okay, you know, that's the whole problem with like streaming and shit now.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And
that's crazy. You remember when Netflix used to make like good movies? Like,
yeah, at the very beginning.
Did you ever see
like
Beast
The
of No
Irishman?
Nation? The Irishman, yeah, Irishman. Great.
I mean, Jesus.
But have you ever seen Beast of No Nation?
No, I never got around to that one.
It's so
and
good.
then the director got like super canceled.
Yeah, Giga canceled. But it's really good.
I do want to watch it one day. I also really liked, was it Alfonso Cuarón that made the movie about like the maids that raised him? What was that movie called?
What is that?
That was a good movie. I really liked that. God,
Okay.
what was that called?
I don't know. I'll have to look it
Yeah,
up.
but it's about him growing up in Mexico as a little boy.
Listener, we're going to drop that title in right now.
Roma!
All right, moving on. As a side note, for the critical response, Rotten Tomatoes recently revamped their website layout, and it's a real downgrade. I hate it. It's not as bad as the complete enshittification that happened to Box Office Mojo a few years ago.
IMDb.
Or IMDb. Yeah, IMDb also like completely shit the bed a few years ago. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time before all these websites turn into mush, and then we have to get replacements thrown together by like real fans,
people,
you know?
real
'Cause,
humans.
like that's what created the internet, and now it's falling to enshittification by corporations.
Yeah,
and it sucks. Speaking of which, Rotten Tomatoes is owned by Warner Brothers and NBC Universal, so go figure. I was not aware of that either, but I was curious, and I found out. So anyway, the Rotten Tomatoes Rebel Moon 2 score. It holds a 15% critic score and a 48% audience score. This is down. Yeah.
Wow.
This is down from part one. Part one holds a 21% critic score and a 57% audience score. And now I previously addressed Zack Snyder's films frequently have much higher audience scores than critic scores due to his cult-like fandom.
Yeah.
And those guys, and they are guys, I'm not being gendered. They love to get in there and like manipulate that shit because 100%. they think they're balancing the scale because they think all these websites and critics they
just fucking hate Zack Snyder,
right? Like they're not being objective.
Yeah,
and I mean it's a review, but
they're out to get him.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, this is all like stacked against Zack Snyder. They just don't want to see him win because they don't like him or blah blah. Because he just makes bad movies, dude. Like
it's not that
your
deep,
Armin
buddy.
Whites and your what's the user from Letterboxd that we were discussing earlier?
Hold on,
you have your contrarians who like are like, yeah, this movie's incredible. It's like the greatest thing since like Birth of a Nation. But like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like
this is Comrade Yui.
Comrade Yui. That's right. We got it. We're going to talk about Comrade Yui. Man.
We have to.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Jesus Christ.
So.
But even like the cult following couldn't save this one. 47%.
Nope. That's the thing. I even saw one of the Letterboxd reviews I almost pulled was like a guy saying like, Zach, I can't keep defending you, man. Like you have to stop.
Yeah.
Because these movies are getting progressively worse.
They are. It's insane.
I only have one pull quote. Reviewing the film for Rolling Stone, critic David Fear wrote, "Turn away from your screens. Go for a walk. Start your own wheat threshing collective. Anything but suffer through this movie."
That's great.
Do you want to take a break or do you just want to go right into the plot?
Take a break and do what? Talk about Comrade Yui?
I mean, do you want to have like a montage of us like, you know, harvesting wheat and grain and then just getting super sweaty? And I'll do it in slow-mo for the watchers.
I need you to turn the fan off and I can definitely get some beads of sweat.
Get a sweat going in here.
Or how about I make an emotional connection with like your kid and then, you know, some guy off the street comes in and just stabs me, you know? Like I'm marked for death
to slow motion violin music.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Or we could, you know, talk about our tragic backstories because we didn't have a lot to say in the last movie.
Purely expository dialogue that's just meant to be like, hey, here's my backstory. Haven't you seen this a million times, you know?
And it's like or how about we have your wife like come in here with like handmade quilting of like our symbols?
Just some complete trite like oh, I made something to honor your memory. And like, we just immediately start fighting back tears, even though we're very strong, powerful men who would never show emotion.
We would never show emotion. Or Jared, let's say me and you get stuck in a crater and like, I think, you know, I didn't want to die. Not today. But if I have to, it's with a friend.
Yeah. Or we finally get overwhelmed by the enemy forces and you and I just lock each other in the eyes and we just nod knowingly and we both pick up a grenade and we together pull the pin while the enemies like, you know, pile on top of us and we take out as many as we can.
That's right, dude.
Listener, that happens like 6 times in this fucking movie.
It's pretty it's
not
pretty
with 2 people at a
egregious.
time, but you know, you get the idea.
Or let's introduce a robot character.
Who is just Superman?
Yeah, he's Superman.
He literally, I have a whole bit in my notes about how he just rips off Superman's like, how he filmed Superman in his Justice League movies or whatever those are called, his Man of Steel movies, whatever.
Man of Steel, yeah.
He just films Anthony Hopkins' bot like he filmed Superman. Like he literally does like the floating jump and then the ground punch and then he just jumps into a tank and is like he's just fucking Superman.
How did they even come close to losing with the robot? And the robot doesn't even like I'm sure you've written a bunch of stuff, but like he doesn't even participate until halfway.
He just suddenly, when they need him at the most, he decides, I'm going to get involved now, and then just jumps in and saves the day by like destroying a bunch of tanks and soldiers. And it's like, you could have done this from the beginning. Like, I get that he was trying to show that he's morally conflicted from the very second he shows up in the first movie.
Yeah.
But like, dude, Deus Machina written all over his character, you know? God, it's so obnoxious. Anyway.
Oh, my favorite scene was the scene where the grasshopper is talking to the other grasshoppers about why they should be worried about some ants, and then he like throws some grains at them, and they're like, haha, one grain doesn't hurt, but then he like rips open the bottle and a bunch of grain kills these grasshoppers. Fantastic. Great writing, Zach.
Really lost at first, but
you got it.
A fucking grasshopper. What was it? Colon the Scargiver.
Yeah, part 2.
Part 2,
semicolon
the Scargiver.
Yeah.
So the film opens with the antagonist from the last movie, Atticus Noble, being resurrected from the dead after being killed by Korra. Back on Tradwife Planet, our heroes return to the farm and inform the populace that a big fight is coming with the Empire, or the Realm, or the Motherland, whatever the fuck they're called. They can't even get it straight. We are then treated to a flashback of events prior to either film, in which Korra was part of the assassination plot against the royal family, who were apparently good and pure people. This scene made the rounds on Twitter the week the film released because the acting, costumes, and wigs are so tremendously bad, it has to be seen to be believed. Anyway, Korra reluctantly shoots the angelic Aryan child princess and is immediately blamed for the entire plot by her co-conspirators.
Wasn't there like an actual orchestra wearing like blindfolds during this thing? And like
there were like hoods even.
Yeah, and they changed the music as tragic stuff was happening. This is like so...
It's diegetic.
Weird.
Not even weird for like cool art's sake. It's
just
like
weird.
It's like what a 13-year-old boy thinks is cool and arty. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not deep.
What if we had an actual orchestra playing the music while these people get murdered?
Exactly.
What if we did... What if there was like music people when Julius Caesar got stabbed in the back? I'm a fucking genius. You know,
it's so bad.
It's trite.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Korra manages to escape capture and has lived on the run until we meet her in the events of the first film. The next morning, we are treated to a gratuitous farming montage replete with slow motion harvesting and lusty white farmers. Afterwards, the farmers celebrate their harvest by throwing a big feast with the heroes of the film, and the farmers present them with banners they've crafted with iconography representing each hero. Each of the heroes is touched by the gesture, even the reserved and steely members, and everyone celebrates. And that's where we get our tear-jerking moments of the, the more reserved, stoic of the crew that would never show emotion, but now they are brought to tears by the banner, by these humble people.
Something that sticks out to me, because this is the part where they like go into their backstories, right? Like
actually, that's a little later.
That's later. Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
Don't worry, I didn't miss that.
I'm coming back
because actually a different night. It's a different night.
I forgot about that. Oh, that's right. Because
there's also something super weird that happens at night that I'm going to get into.
Titus comes out.
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
No. I'm saying like the first thing is like, you guys show us how you live, and then we're going to show you how to fight. I remember is like the conversation.
I think that's my
bad. I forgot that there's like
There's
3 nights until
because even when I was recapping it, watching it, I was like, didn't that happen happened that night? I'm like, and then I fast forward and I was like, oh no,
there's another one. Yeah. But yeah, they're expecting enemies in 3 days or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next morning, the heroes begin preparations for the upcoming battle by training the farmers to fight, digging trenches, and laying traps, while Anthony Hopkins watches from afar. After several days of work, the heroes sit together and, one by one, run through their various abridged backstories. Here we see some of the most interesting visual scenes in the film, yes, but all of the scenes are in slow motion and are as derivative as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Like a million comic books have done all of this shit before. That being said, the visuals are intriguing and the imagery displayed is interesting. I was kind of checked in more here than I was at any other point in the film.
Yeah.
But because so much stuff is happening so fast, kind of. it happens and then it's over and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Like them blowing up all of Titus's men.
Yeah, he's the first one to be like, they told me they were going to execute me, but then instead they ended up killing all my men instead of me.
Yeah.
And then somebody else goes, I don't even remember what theirs was.
The not Native American guy goes and talks about...
He's third, I think. He's third, okay. But his was the most interesting.
It was, and that's what I was going to bring up is like...
Yeah, I got a whole thing. Oh, yeah.
No, by all means, you do you, and then okay. I'll add comment.
So we are jumping between different planets, characters, and technologies. One scene that I really like that we were just saying depicts griffins attacking mechanical ships that I liked quite a bit. But it purely exists in the background of a scene for just a moment while the character's mother is committing suicide.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
It is stupid.
But anyway, after the expository dialogue, the gang then all tease Titus because he has been drinking water from a flask the whole film, and they all assumed he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't really follow. It was a weird scene played for humor, and I watched this movie at least twice, and I still have no idea why it's supposed to be funny or why they're shocked.
It's in the first movie. He's supposed to be like a washed out drunk that's also like a gladiator. That's his whole thing is he's, I don't know, man. It's like subversion, I guess.
But that feels like almost, yeah, it's very offensive that they just assumed that. But they're all taking, when like one character reveals, you've been drinking water this whole time.
Yeah. And
they all just kind of like flip out about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Who cares?
Just, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. What I was going to say though is, do you remember in the first movie where you're like, the Griffin guy, the guy who rides the Griffin, who's
he has
enslaved.
It doesn't matter.
I don't remember his name. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He's not Native American. He's Indian.
Yeah.
In real life, the actor is Indian. I looked it up. Yeah.
But there's that part in the first movie where like they bet on him not being able to tame this griffin, but somehow you're supposed to know that like that's what his people
of course
do.
He's going to, yeah,
right. But no, I remember you saying in our first review is like there's a coin that he has that has the griffin's head on it, and that's somehow supposed to tell you that like he knows what he's doing. But if they had just had this flashback thing, or even like I don't know, try to develop the characters in the first movie a little bit better. Like we would know this, we would realize, his people have a connection to this creature, and that's why he's able to overcome this task in the moment. Like it's like the what's his name, Qui-Gon Jinn betting on Anakin for pod racing, but he knows that Anakin is force sensitive, so he has insight to it instead of these people just betting on him to tame this fucking griffin and not knowing shit. Like he's got to do it. He's hot, so he has to do it, right?
The closest analog is like this film is just ripping off Seven Samurai wholesale. Yeah, and in that scene, when the lead samurai is putting together his troop, he's kind of just looking at guys and being like, I bet there's something interesting about this guy. But he tests them all.
Yeah.
And like it's been a minute, so I forget what he does to each one. But there are scenes where he's like, this guy may pass or fail, but if he passes, we're going to ask him to do this for us, because like the samurai has to be humble but cunning and also willing to work for free, essentially, because he's like, we can't hire a samurai that needs a good payday because we're not going to be able to give them that because these farmers can't pay us anything.
Right.
And that's so. I'm going to make a lot of parallels to that movie because it's better.
You have to.
But yeah, so
we probably should cover Seven Samurai.
Oh, we absolutely will. It's it's George Lucas's favorite movie for a reason.
Yeah.
But when the farmers give all of the warriors like their each their own banner, like it's just ripping off from Seven Samurai when one of the farmers like builds a banner that represents all of the samurai. Oh no, wait, is it actually Toshiro Mifune's character that builds it? See, more reason for us to rewatch it.
Yeah, I know. Like I realized you're not remembering stuff as crisp about that movie. So I think
I need to watch it again.
It is an indication that we should probably watch
Absolutely. But Toshiro Mifune, I think,
Yeah.
actually makes this banner, and he draws like 6 circles and then a 7th one, and it's supposed to represent, like, he draws one for each samurai, and then he draws one for the people, the farmers that they're protecting on it. And it becomes like their banner, and it's even the cover of the movie now.
Okay.
It's so good,
That's
man.
so good.
It's so fucking good. I don't want to spoil it, but like you can kind of figure out what happens.
Yeah.
But it's so fucking good, man. Anyway, we can't reminisce about better
No, we
movies.
can't talk about a better movie.
We're here to
We have
talk about a shit
Rebel
movie.
Moon.
So anyway, the day of the attack comes, and the farmers scramble to finish their last minute preparations as the Empire's realms, whatever,
Yeah.
giant ship dreadnought. I'm going to call it a dreadnought.
Oh,
throughout
I
the
think
rest
it
of
is
this.
a dreadnought.
It's absolutely called
Yeah.
a dreadnought, which is appropriate, but also ripped from Warhammer, right?
No, I actually don't think there's a. So
Oh.
a dreadnought is a thing in Warhammer, but
Yeah.
it is a walking sarcophagus that has guns in it with one dude inside. I
Not
don't
a
think
ship, more of
I-
a tank.
I don't believe that there's a dreadnought class starship, but let me
Okay.
check. I think there's things are like Imperator class or some shit like that.
Right. Okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But it does look straight up out of Warhammer, the design of it, at least.
Yo,
100%. Yeah. So the dreadnought comes into the Earth's atmosphere, or not the Earth, Velt's atmosphere, and all the farmers start freaking out. So the farmers and our protagonists were expecting a much smaller squad of soldiers to arrive, but as Noble was resurrected from his fight with Korra, he is aware that she is on Velt and arrives with a full army. Now, as Noble and the Motherworld troops land, he informs Korra that if she turns herself willingly over to him, he will not attack the farmers and will leave them unharmed. So this presents an interesting choice for our heroine. And she is intrigued. You can tell she wants to take him up on this. If she turns it down, she's putting everyone's life at risk and will likely be responsible for the deaths of many of her friends and the civilians. If she turns herself in, the remaining heroes could perhaps live to fight another day. The farmers will be spared. But that's if he keeps his word. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Korra is robbed of this choice because Gunnar, her annoying boyfriend, yanks her gun and shoots the alarm bell, triggering the surprise attack anyway. It completely takes any
agency away from her.
both agency and like a different direction this could have gone.
Right.
To try to make it so like she absorbs like it's so fucking annoying. I gotta calm down. I'm gonna blow out the mic.
It's okay. I understand. What you're saying is like the obvious decision for her, if there wasn't any kind of interference, is giving herself over and like dealing with the repercussions of that.
Yes.
And also still showing there's a good possibility that he was going to turn on, but
But
change his
she
mind
could
anyways.
deal with having accepted that consequence.
Yeah.
You know? So somehow the legion of soldiers that are standing watch over all of this do not react to Gunnar taking the gun, shooting the alarm bell, and then the farmers attack and begin blowing up the drop ships. So what ensues is a lot of slow motion fighting, shooting, and melee combat. Noble manages to escape back to the dreadnought, and Korra and Gunnar make their way back to the drop ship that they had in hiding. And are
that's right. They spent time fixing it. I forgot about that. Yeah.
She was able to find the drop ship that she escaped from the assassination thing with.
Yeah.
So they are, and this was actually kind of clever when they disguise it as a damaged drop ship with wounded soldiers on board and return to the dreadnought, and they're able to get on board.
Yeah.
I actually thought, okay, I'll give them credit where credit's due here. This is pretty good. And the plan was foolproof because they had like a smoke grenade hanging outside the latch so that they looked like they were damaged. And then they came over the comms saying like, we've got wounded, like we're coming in hot. And they're like, that's okay.
She's a former soldier, so she knows all the call signs.
And they have
stuff.
like wounded soldiers, like armor that they put on so that they get loaded onto like stretchers.
They passed the deception check. That's good.
Yeah,
Good for them.
exactly. Yeah. It was actually a
Also,
good
hey,
move.
real quick, Warhammer, whatchamacallit, I say designations for their starships are fucking badass.
Oh yeah.
We got the Grya class, Falchion class, Invincible class, Adjudicator, the Vanquisher, a Victory class, Retribution class, Oberon, Nemesis Claw Fleet Carrier, Emperor class, and Apocalypse class.
Nice.
Just fucking cool
Good
shit.
Lord, Apocalypse class.
It's a big ship.
Unfathomably large. So back in Velt, we have various scenes of our heroes bravely mowing down soldiers and even the farmers themselves fighting off the occasional attackers. Several major characters make brave sacrifices to take out as many enemies as they can, and yada yada, slow motion, violin music as the guy triggers a grenade trap and Sword Lady gets stabbed, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, there are like tertiary farmers that are dying that like maybe got a little bit more screen time than some of the other ones.
Yeah, exactly.
The only hired hero that dies is the fucking what was her name? Nemesis, right?
The lady that kills the giant spider in the first movie.
Yes,
yeah,
her name's Nemesis.
Yeah.
And
wait, I think one other one dies.
Oh yeah, Gunnar later on.
Well,
he's technically a farmer.
No.
So.
The guy. Okay, there's a guy. I got a bit in this too. There's a guy that looks like Gunnar, but he has a beard. He died right at the beginning of the attack because he gets thrown off the ship by Noble. Remember, he gets stabbed and he throws him off the drop ship.
Yeah, I was like, who was
and that guy? I kept thinking was Gunnar the whole movie because it looks just like him, but with a beard. And then there's a girl that looks just like Cora, but her only like difference is she has like a black stripe across her eyes, like a raccoon thing.
But she's also bald.
But right, her and Cora both have short dark hair and wear tank tops. And everyone in this movie's fucking jacked as shit.
Yeah.
I digress. we gotta move on. So just as our heroes think that they have prevailed and begin to shout in celebration, another wave of troopers appear, now backed by a walking tank, aka Metal Gear. The lady I keep confusing with Cora manages to sneak up on it and blows it up. Meanwhile, Cora and Gunnar have infiltrated the dreadnought and are killing people left and right. And Cora places explosives on a giant mechanical head thing. It resembles those statues in the Joel Schumacher Batman films. There's no explanation given in the film, but I believe it is the ship's main engine, and it just happens to be in the shape of like a giant statue of a man, or like a head. You know, did you catch that?
I did.
This?
I think
because there's a moment where it like kind of looks up at her. It's weird.
I think I remember thinking that it's because Zack Snyder definitely knows what Warhammer is. It feels like it's a human that's been imprisoned in an engine, or it's like there's a faction called the Votan. They're basically space dwarves, and they all have like I don't think they worship it, but they basically like follow the instructions of AI, like old AI engines that tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And it felt like they have faces on them. Like they've carved faces onto these computers.
Purely so that they have something to like.
Yeah. Like an idol.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's very Warhammer.
Yeah.
So it's probably like some sort of.
It feels like something out of a, what are those guys called that like worship like how Roman architecture and style is, where they like have giant carved marble statues and things like that.
Yeah,
because that feels like that's Zack Snyder's like bread and
his
butter.
Thing, yeah.
Anyway, I can't even get into that. So back on planet side, the fighting begins to look dire for our protagonist as more tanks and troops roll in. But Anthony Hopkins' bot appears and finally does his Superman thing, where he jumps in and becomes a one-man army. The dreadnought is targeting the planet Velt. Why am I guessing it? I was getting it right this whole time. Anyway, the dreadnought is now targeting it with cannon fire, and I think someone even tries to stop him and says like, "Well, we still have troops down there," and he's like, "I don't care, fire."
Yeah, well, we're not going to get the grains that we want. I don't give
that too. Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Get rid of them.
However, Cora's explosives go off just in time and throw the shot off, causing the dreadnought to explode and slowly fall apart. Now, Cora and Gunnar face off against Noble inside the collapsing dreadnought, and a fight ensues in an overturned hangar. The pair are able to dispatch Noble once again, and they manage to board a dropship and take off just before the dreadnought crashes into the planet's surface. They crash land by the farm, but Gunnar succumbs to his injuries. As he is dying, he and Cora watch as the mercenaries from the first film, the Blood Axe Gang,
they just show
up. Who I completely forgot about until they suddenly appear in this.
Yeah.
Suddenly appear in fighter ships and begin fighting off waves and waves of enemies that were not there a second ago. Yeah. Like literally, we see the entire planet, like, or at least,
it's a gulch.
Several hundred miles. Yeah. As the dreadnought's collapsing. And then all of a sudden it's just full of enemies again.
Yeah.
And all the Blood Axe are like swooping in, fighting them off. And it's like, well, wait. There was nothing there a second ago. Yeah. I got so mad about this. I got so mad because Zack Snyder clearly has he has no sense of geography in battle and action scenes.
Clearly.
Because like George Miller is like the master of this.
Yeah.
Where he like, where people are, where places, like a lot of good directors figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder can't. Like this movie, it was so indicative of like, I can't figure out what the stakes are. Like, how many waves of enemies? Like, how dire are things looking? I don't know.
Jared, in the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon 2 dash or Rebel Moon dash Part 2 semicolon the Scargiver, dreadnoughts show up as this dreadnought is going down, and that's when the blood X's show up. So that's why there's more people there.
But where did they come from? It makes no sense. They came from
the Snyder cut, dude.
They just appeared out of nowhere. The dreadnought's fucking dead, so it's not like they're like being reinforced suddenly. They had to be planet side the whole time.
I have no idea. I now that you're like, because I was really tired, and I was like, this movie is. I was so fucking bored.
Well, I watched it twice because I wanted to be sure that I didn't just miss something, and then like one guy is going to be like, "Oh, come on, now it's actually blah blah blah." I'm like, no. It's not clear. It's not clear at all, Yeah,
I was so bored and tired of this movie by the time the blood actually showed up. I was like, sure.
And it's clearly like supposed to be like, whoa, the cavalry's here kind of thing. Yeah. And it's like, come on, kid, let's blow this thing and go home.
Well, specifically because like they didn't want to participate in the fight in the first place after the one main Blood X guy got killed. The sister was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this shit. Yeah. I guess she had a change of heart, and that's like supposed to be a very, very heroic thing. But the dreadnought's already
like
going
Anthony
down.
Hopkins bot shows up just in time.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, oh, you did all the work. I guess we'll show up and just do the last second.
Exactly.
So fucking stupid. So anyway, the Blood Axe appear and seemingly defeat all of the remaining enemies. So the farmers and our heroes cheer. And then that night, the farmers and their warriors are burning the dead and mourning them. And in front of everyone, Cora reveals to the crew that she was the one who assassinated the princess and that she feels terrible about it. But then Titus conveniently reveals that, hey, she's actually still alive.
She's been alive
she's magic or some bullshit.
That's right.
And the other heroes state that they will happily appear in Rebel Moon 3, and then the film ends, and there's 20 minutes of credits. That's not an exaggeration. There's like 20 minutes of credits.
I forgot about that.
We are robbed of a real ending because Zack Snyder cannot help himself but set up another fucking sequel. We were told it was going to be 2 movies. Do you know how many it's up to now?
5?
More.
What?
He's looking at 6 movies.
No, how? How is he getting? Who's paying this man? And I only said 4 because like they're doing the director's cuts of. Oh no,
those don't.
2.
That doesn't even count.
Oh, they don't count.
That's not counting
We're
those.
at 6?
That's not counting those. It could be a dozen by the time he's done.
Jared, no, I can't fucking do this, dude. No, and like this movie did feel like nothing happened.
Yeah,
because like. They got rid of a small villain, but Belisarius is still alive.
They blew up a ship.
A single ship.
But like, granted, they're a team of like, 7 people, 6 people, and some farmers.
So
and the stakes should have been low in the first place, but whatever. So Will, I unfortunately, if you didn't already know, I have to tell you that these movies began development as a Star Wars spinoff.
No, I did know that.
You did know this. Okay.
He went,
did we talk about this in the last
As far as I know, the story goes, legend has it.
No, this is real.
Oh, I know this is real, but I don't know all the details. That's why I'm saying legend has it. That Snyder went to Disney, pitched his idea for a Star Wars film.
He went to Lucas.
And then
it was right when they sold to Disney.
Yeah, and they were like, absolutely not. This is fucking stupid. And so he was like, fuck you. I'm going to go make my own Star Wars movie with blackjack and hookers. You know what? Forget the Star Wars movie.
Yeah, actually... pretty fucking apt. So according to co-writer Kurt Johnstad, although there were plans for a trilogy of movies, the franchise will eventually consist of a total of 6 films, explaining that the stories for each original installment have been expanded into 2 parts. Kurt stated that the treatments are completed for the 3rd and 4th movie, and Snyder is currently writing the 3rd film. On the same day, Snyder also stated that the total number of films in the series will either be 4 or 6, depending on whether or not the 2nd and 3rd entries of the trilogy each get split into 2 parts as well. Great. Just awesome. Keep pumping out this slop. People love it. Fill Netflix with this garbage. The earth is fucking burning. Let's speed this shit up. Jesus Christ.
Accelerate. Yeah. Why are they giving him so much money? Especially when they dropped that second one with like no fucking fanfare.
I think the executives at Netflix saw the fervor of Snyder fanboys online.
Oh, yeah.
And thought,
this is a real group.
We're going to make money off of these guys.
Yeah.
And to some extent, they probably are. But you can only milk these people so far. Like,
especially when you see actual people who do like his films be like, I can't defend you anymore.
Because even the audience score is failing for both of these movies.
Yeah.
It's abysmal.
It's bad.
Because like they were able to manipulate like what is it? The Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, which, okay, didn't that movie cost like $300 million? The recut. Like,
yeah, it was
no
expensive.
way Warner Brothers made their money back on that. There's no way. Because they just threw it on Max too. And like, I know there was like a physical release, but there's no way they made their money back.
I don't know.
And I wonder if they just did it just to shut everybody up, you know?
Oh, 100%.
Because
they thought that would shut everybody up, but now everybody's like, well, I want to see the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, which I do. I want to see
but
that,
it's always a lie. It's built on
Yeah.
half-truths because Snyder was like, there's a real cut of my movie. But they had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to reshoot it. And it was like, it wasn't done. It just wasn't done, dude. It wasn't there. And like, I get that he had to step away for like very serious reasons that like I don't want to clown on him for. It was really serious shit.
Yeah.
But like, brother, it wasn't gonna be a great movie in the first place.
No.
And like, yeah, I get that Whedon like fucked it up and like it was a worse movie. But it was never a great movie, you know?
Yeah. You know what's funny is like I know Joss Whedon's like a pariah now in Hollywood, but
yeah, he got outed and he really fucking sucks. Which is a shame because like I grew up on Buffy and loved that show.
You know what's crazy? He wrote for Toy Story.
No way.
Every single time I watch Toy Story with my son, the credits go up and he's a writer. He's one of the writers. He's the top billed one.
What's the Pixar guy that apparently is a real creep?
Oh, I don't know who.
God. What the fuck is his name?
You can't be throwing these things out here without knowing names, man.
John Lasseter.
Oh yeah, John Lasseter.
So John Lasseter was
he directed it.
Yeah, he directed the first one.
Yeah,
yeah, and he's like the producer on like tons of Pixar movies.
Yeah,
he might even still be to this day. But anyway, he has had a lot of like, let's say, quote unquote, Me Too-esque allegations. But okay. This is not the place to get into this. So like, please like research this yourselves and like look up the articles about this.
Do your own research.
But from my memory, he's just a very like touchy-feely, like huggy kind of guy to the point where it made a lot of people uncomfortable. And like his whole thing is like, you know, he's an adult child. Like he's like been a kid his whole life.
Yeah.
And like, that's why he was able to tap into like childhood for these movies. But like, it's also like, he oversteps boundaries that like a grown man shouldn't kind of thing too. Apparently, allegedly was like part of it. But I'm sure there's very thorough and in-depth articles on your New York Times or your Atlantics or whatever that probably go into this.
I'm sorry. This subject
you threw me for. I had
no. This subject is way more interesting than fucking Rebel Moon 2. I'm genuinely shocked. There's going to be 6 of them. Like you blew my fucking mind. I knew that these 2 were being filmed.
God save us.
Right next to each other. Like so that's why they were able to crank them both out with like in a year of each other. But. And even when they left this one open, and I was like, all right, cool. Maybe they'll do a third one. I hope to God that they don't. Like, I hope that this is the death knell for it. But the fact that they're like even thinking about doing 6 of them is like it's killing me. It's what franchise is he gonna fucking rip off now? There wasn't a sequel to Seven Samurai. Like this is open territory. They don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, and they can't keep stealing from Warhammer. They can't do it. You know?
Oh, you don't think so?
They can't keep getting away with it. like you know, they can't. I can't imagine them being able to continue doing this. You know, it's untenable. I'm gonna be shocked that I don't know, dude. I'm at a loss for words for 6 of these things. Like, and I'm gonna be there if they exist and they're on Netflix. I'm gonna watch them. I have to. We're gonna become a Rebel Moon podcast. It's all we talk about. And we say we can't stand it, and yet we keep doing episodes every week. Because I'm so fucking content brained, man. Like I know if we watch this movie, we're gonna talk about it and we're gonna say some real mean shit about it because it's bad. I would love to be surprised, Jared. I tell you, and I know I've said this multiple times. I love new sci-fi. I want this to be good.
Yeah.
I know it's not. And like Snyder just can't deliver, man.
I will support, anytime good sci-fi is made. Like I just bought the 4K Steelbook release of The Fifth Element, you know, I'm triple dipping on that movie because it deserves it. Yeah. Like it's so good, you know. Like,
I agree.
But this isn't it, buddy.
No,
this isn't it.
It's not.
I wouldn't even have liked this movie as a kid, I can tell. I would have been bored to tears by it. Everything's brown. Not the people, just the color saturation of the movie.
Yeah, it does have the brown filter.
There's one brown guy in the whole movie. There's no like. Oh no, wait. Some of the blood acts are black. Yeah,
and Sophia Boutella-'s not white.
No, she's like Belgian or something, right?
No, she's like Hold on, we
Albanian.
we did this exact same
we
thing.
did. We did.
Last one. I can't remember. That's how much of a shit I don't.
She
give
can
about
be
this
white
fucking
passing.
movie.
I think is what
I
we
guess.
landed.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But there are enough of the pure farmer people are Aryan to the point
100%.
where, and they're just like, oh, all the the protagonists of the movie are like, well, these people are better than us. We have to give our lives for them, and it's like, ooh, the optics on this are bad.
So good.
Okay, I have some notes.
Let's hear him, dude.
Okay, to be clear,
Yes.
and I think I mentioned this at the top though, I did make an earnest attempt to go into this movie open-minded.
Yeah.
I went in, I attempted to go in as well as one possibly can objectively, without preconceived notions or prejudices. And I tried to simply enjoy it. I really did. I'm being completely honest here.
Yeah, this was supposed to be the payoff to all the setup from the first one.
Yeah. And it's not like I had a bad day when I turned it on. Like, I was actually having a good day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this on. I was watching the kid by myself and I'm like, I'm just going to have a nice afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on. I'll write down some notes. Maybe I'll be impressed with it. And I will say, I actually think I enjoyed this movie a smidge more than part one.
There was more happening.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from what I gather, I may have enjoyed it more than you, but not by a lot.
I was bored, man.
I was basing that just on the initial text you sent me when you first watched it that night.
I was falling asleep, and I started it at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I remember it wasn't that.
And it's a long
late.
movie. That's not a good idea.
Yeah,
I watched it in
know.
the middle of a Saturday afternoon.
Right, but I mean, I've been staying up till 12:30 at night for the last week or so watching Three Body Problem, and I like that.
Right, and it's not detrimenting your.
I'm
opinion
fighting
of it,
myself to stay awake because I want to take in everything that they're giving me.
That's how I used to watch Dexter back in the day. I'd stay up till 4 in the morning and being like, one more up.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad too.
But with this, it's the opposite. I was falling asleep. It was so boring and bad. And what was it? When action is the sauce, right? If the whole movie is action, if the whole movie is 100, then and there's no dips at all. It just becomes exhausting, and
exactly.
there isn't that many lulls. The movie, the villain comes back and there's a little bit of a training montage. So there's
it's not even interesting that they revived him.
Yeah.
I'm like, could you just not make another villain? What the fuck?
Can we not have Belisarius go take care of his own fucking problems?
Yeah.
And Ed Skrein was doing the best that he could. I don't blame him. But the movie starts off and it's a small thing and then it crescendos and it stays there. It stays there the whole time until the very end of the movie. And then they hit you with oh, by the way, that little girl that you killed, she's not dead. Ba-ba-bum, it's a 3-1. We're doing another one. Rebel Moon 3.
So stupid.
It's not good.
But yeah, all that is to say, I still came away entirely unimpressed with this soulless and derivative trash heap of a film. Good grief.
I like the fact that you at least went back and watched it a second time, but to confirm when you were explaining that was good. I should have watched this movie a second time.
Yeah.
But even with the first film, I was telling you when they were doing the montage of picking all the guys up, we're gonna have 5 minutes and we're gonna give you some screen time. You're gonna do something badass and we're gonna get your name and that's it. That's all we're gonna do. We're not gonna do anything more than that. And I remember falling asleep after all of them got recruited and then okay, I gotta re-pick it up and then you're oh, did I miss anything? There's nothing memorable going on in this movie. And I went back to the recruiting thing and I was no, nothing happens in this fucking movie. Yeah. And in this thing, nothing fucking happens. There's a fight, it's a resolution and that's it. But it's just I don't know, man, it's so over the top and there's so much dumb shit the robot who's clearly on your side showing up when most of the enemies have been defeated, or the blood axes showing up when, for whatever reason, we just had to have them show up and shoot a bunch of guys that weren't there but previously. And all of these things, tropes that we've seen in different action movies, the dude who's on his last breath, but he can take out just a couple more enemies. I've seen that in fucking Saving Private Ryan,
But 5 different people get that kind of and it's I get the beat here. Move on. Yeah. Okay. This has been done a million times. Do something interesting. There's no beats or scenes in this film where it's oh, I wasn't expecting that. That was cool. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And there's still room to wow people. As I don't want to keep bringing up Three Body Problem, but I was telling you earlier.
It's just recency bias.
It's recency bias. But I was telling you, I saw something in that show that I've never seen anybody else do. And it was so like jarring and visceral and so cool that it makes shit like this, like Rebel Moon 2, just look so bad and so unimaginative and so like soulless. And
how do you think I feel? I just came off of watching Furiosa.
Yeah, I know, right?
And like, which I will say, like, we'll get into it on our own episode.
Yeah,
for
we're
it,
going to
but
talk about Furiosa.
People are a little cool on it compared to Fury Road.
Yeah,
but
I don't
like,
understand why.
Yeah,
I'm sure
we'll get into it. I cannot wait. That episode might be 4 hours long. That might be our Snyder cut episode.
Fuck it, let's go, dude. I don't care.
But I will spend as many hours in that world that George Miller will give me.
Yeah.
Because he is doing shit that nobody else fucking does.
Yeah, he's
like
good world building.
Even like a lesser tier George Miller film is leagues above this kind of garbage shit. Because it's so like I've heard multiple people both in person and online like complain that like the first 40 minutes are a little slow for Furiosa. Like, buddy, I know you're expecting that because Fury Road was like a nonstop like balls to the wall action film, but like I was there every minute of Furiosa. I'm like hooked. I wanted to see more. Like, I'm mad that movie wasn't 3 hours long. Yeah, because it's only 2.5, I think. But like, I wanted more. There could have been so much more. But the fact that George only gave me what he did, I think it was supposed to be 2 movies. I think Furiosa was okay. First of all, this is not the Furiosa episode.
No, it's not.
I will wrap this up. But Furiosa was supposed to come out before Fury Road. We were supposed to know who she was before Fury Road, so that we can see her like get her revenge on Immortan Joe.
Okay.
But this movie still is able to tell a very interesting story.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you kind of know where she's going by the end, because obviously she's still alive by the events of Fury Road.
Yeah.
But like, it is still exhilarating regardless.
So what I was going to say is, the reason why you like that is because George Miller has taken the time to do world building.
Yes.
He's given
every little bit of world building is masterfully done. It's so interesting and intriguing, and it literally like makes me go, ha! When you see something and figure out like, oh, this guy's called History Man because he like tattoos like encyclopedia entries on his arms. It's so cool.
Exactly. So that's what
Snyder wishes he could do that shit.
Right. That's what I was going to get at is like George Miller has envisioned, okay, so I'm doing all of my stuff in the apocalypse. What does the post-apocalypse look like to me?
Yeah.
In my head. And then he, world builds off of the stuff. Zack Snyder is like, I want to make a Star Wars movie. Oh, I'm not able to make a Star Wars movie.
Have you read a comic book?
Yeah,
guess what?
Let me make my own version of Star Wars where we also have, blasters and laser swords and, maybe...
Because like when Lucas came up with Star Wars, it was original.
Yeah.
And now it's like hacky as shit because like everything looks like that. A million people ripped him off.
Yeah.
But like a million people ripped off Mad Max too, and like that's why when we think post-apocalyptic or fucking Fallout, like kind of owes a lot of its existence to Mad Max.
I was actually gonna mention
not its existence.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Fallout too in regards to Miller. Both of these do post-apocalypse, but they're doing stuff in completely different ways.
Right.
George Miller's, I don't know how far in the future it is from where we are, but like resources are gone. Gone. In Fallout, you can still get clean water. You can still like, there's still society. It hasn't broken down so much.
It's not as bad.
Yeah,
well,
but
I think there was so in Fallout, it's implied that they're like Russia and America like attacked each other, right?
No. So the game,
should we even get into that?
Well, I mean, like I don't.
Maybe it's more interesting than this movie.
It is more interesting than this movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler warning for the end of the Fallout TV show.
Okay.
I don't think that the how you say what happened is really talked about in the games.
Yeah, they only ever hint at it. Really,
the show implies that the Vault Tech, the people who own Vault Tech, set the nukes off in America.
Oh no shit!
To create the situation that they're in, so that they could sell their product.
Wow!
Because the two countries were coming to a peace agreement, and you can't sell stuff. Yeah, you can't sell stuff. You can't sell endanger
bomb shelters
exactly
during
if there's
peacetime.
Peace times.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, fuck it. Well, let's just do it ourselves, and they nuke America.
I don't know if that's implied in the games, although I didn't play the first two. I've played.
I don't know. There's callbacks to all of their games. In the show, but I know that there's a lot of apparently heavy references or Easter eggs to the first two. I've never played a Fallout game. So
really,
I played a little bit of 3.
Yeah,
I blew up
Megaton.
A Megaton, yeah, because I thought it would be funny.
If you ever decide to go back, it's a little old now. I mean, they all are.
I want to
but
play New Vegas.
New Vegas is the
Yeah,
one.
I wanna play New Vegas.
was my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I stand that game. And apparently, like, it's a big game in the trans community. I saw a meme that was like,
third or fourth person to tell me that.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a meme the other day that was like, if you played this and it was New Vegas' cover art, like, then you're trans now. And I was like, uh-oh.
What does that say about me?
But like, listen, trans people have great taste in video games.
This is
Okay.
true.
So
That's absolutely true.
yeah.
But what I was going to say is like the whole reason why I was interested in the show was because they did a Fallout crossover for Magic. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah, one of the decks was the colors that I like, and
Yeah.
it's almost all New Vegas cards.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I've been consuming some information.
It has the best story. In
Yeah,
fact,
that's-
one of the DLCs has some of the best writing. Like, there's like a storyline that you can find
Yeah.
that just like, it blew me the fuck away. And I like was Googling it on like the New Vegas wiki at the time,
Yeah.
before like fucking fandom and shit bought all those things.
Right.
And I was like, these entries are incredible. Like, I've never been so absorbed in this like writing before.
Yeah,
and I looked it up, and it was written by like a real novelist who was hired by Bethesda to like write the storyline.
Bethesda's not the one that
That's
did
right.
the game.
Well, they published it, but
Right.
it's developed by
I
the
don't know.
Outer Worlds.
Yeah, the
guys,
Outer Worlds people.
right?
Yeah.
Interplay. No, it was like former developers of Interplay. God, I forgot. Obsidian. That's it,
Obsidian. Yeah.
But yeah, there's like this quest line. I forget what it's called, but it's about a guy who is like just writing journal entries about how he's been surviving after his like family died, and then he like just happens upon a raider, like a girl raider, a female raider, whatever.
Yeah.
And like takes pity on her, and then they actually become a couple, and then like they start raising a family, and then he's like talking about like he's like, I was depressed and like just wanted to die, but now that I have a new family, like, and you just find these small entries in these different areas that he's lived in throughout the world as you're traveling. And I was like, I made it my mission to like find all of these entries in this game because it was so good.
That's cool.
It was like my favorite thing, and I found out like who made this stuff, and it's like literally like a real novelist like was hired to like write some small side missions in the game, and I was like, this shit is so good.
That's tight.
Anyway, I digress.
Okay, so
Dead Money is like the best DLC for that game.
No,
anyway.
it's okay.
Yeah,
This is a great example. What you call it? This small, itty bitty little bit of this game
yeah.
is more interesting than fucking Rebel Moon 2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Like I was in tears reading these like notes in this game.
Yeah.
You know, like it was so good.
I was in tears watching Rebel Moon because I was tired.
For different reasons.
Yeah, I was yawning
entirely.
too much. And so like, if you take anything from this, you know, you've listened to us for about an hour. Hey, use that other hour to go do literally anything else instead of watching this fucking movie.
Okay, so this film, I got a couple more notes.
Okay.
Then there's nothing else to say about this movie.
Yeah, you got it.
This film is at instances visually interesting. You know,
Yes.
I called out a couple of the decent scenes. Snyder is obviously adept at visual flair and style. I think I said this in the first movie too.
You did. You said
Yeah.
if only he would take a step back, not be a director, but instead be like a visual artist
Or a
like,
cinematographer.
cinematographer. There you go.
Or he can direct. I just need somebody else to write the fucking movie.
Yeah.
He can't get him the fuck away from the script.
Yeah.
Get him away.
and keep him away
Shooting
from,
script only.
Yeah, I say get him away from the editor's room too.
Right.
He's not allowed.
Hand him a camera, sure.
Yeah.
I will credit where credit's due. Visually, he is interesting. He can
Yeah.
do some shit,
I
but
agree.
pull the pin away from him, please. Get what's the fucking script writing software that everybody uses?
Chat GPT.
No, God. Actually, you know what? Might be better.
Yeah, might be better.
God. But yeah, this is like his signature technique, you know, and he uses it well. But one of his major weaknesses is that that's all he can do is his visual flair successfully. And all of his visuals just feel vain since they're purely like spectacle flourishes and nothing more. Like they're all in service of like just slow motion, sweaty, like jacked ass people. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Okay, so Titus and we off pod both agreed on this, like completely like serendipitously. Too.
Oh yeah.
Titus, played by
Jimon Honsu.
Thank you, sir, is a powerful and commanding actor and is perhaps the best in this bloated cast. Unfortunately, he feels wasted in this role as he is forced to share screen time with like 20 other main characters.
Yeah. Did he say that like in an interview or something? Or is
No,
it just
I'm
like
saying that.
Oh yeah.
But we both agreed that like he is by far like the
He's
only
the best
great actor in this
on
movie.
the set. Yeah.
Yeah, like some people can like they're like fine, but he is the only like great actor in this.
You know what's crazy? I just now made the connection. You know how his character is like a washed up gladiator because
In the first one, yeah.
you know he was in Gladiator.
Oh my God.
He's the guy who's
Zack.
Yeah.
Do something original, dude.
Yeah, he's one of the only 2 characters to meet and fight by Maximus's side to live.
Oh my!
I can't remember his character's name, but he's one of them.
So literally, they were just like, "What if he played his character from that?"
Yeah, but make it sci-fi.
There's a sequel to that coming out.
Yeah,
by Ridley Scott, I believe. Too.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I genuinely have no idea how I feel about it. I don't like Ridley Scott.
I feel about it, but I probably will still see it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to see it too because I love Gladiator. Gladiator is such a good movie, and I do not like Ridley Scott now. I think he's an old, disillusioned man, and I cannot stand how he feels about millennials. Like, wow, where's misguided anger, you fucking idiot? But
I almost think we should cover it because I got to tell you,
what's up?
I'm not a fan of that movie.
Oh, the Gladiator?
But I might.
Oh, let's do it.
I might have some preconceived notions that are like,
no, it's okay.
Informing that opinion.
I think the reason why I like it is because it was like one of the first like really gory action movies I saw as a kid.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it recently.
See, that was 300 for me, and I actually liked 300 when I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, same here. And rewatching it, it's like, woo.
But I remember like a year later, like this guy at my school, we were at like this big basement party. And like they put 300 on the projector.
Yeah.
And this guy that I found very obnoxious at my school was like, everyone, please be very quiet. I get very emotional during this movie. And I just rolled my eyes so fucking hard. And I immediately like, that was my turning trajectory on like that movie and Zack Snyder.
That's funny. I told you like I recently rewatched 300 like last year.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were doing the pod and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, man, there's some fucking serious yike shit on there.
It's
but like
racist. It's homophobic.
Yep.
It's ableist.
Yep.
I mean, you name it, dude, and it does it. And the comic doesn't even do those things. It's so weird. For all of those things, even though Frank Miller is a fucking fascist.
It's okay. I did look up affilialities or whatever the
soldier that betrays them.
Yeah, he is depicted like that in the comic book.
Really?
Unless they redid it. Yes, I did check this.
I thought I had read that he is not, and Zack did that, or whoever wrote the screenplay did that.
It was Frank Miller that did it, correct?
Yes.
Unless it
sucks.
I know.
Frank Miller's not a good person.
No, I know.
He has shown his true colors late in life,
Unless they redid the comic to make it like the movie, he is in fact just as grotesque as he is in the film. I still like the action in that movie, but obviously that's because the whole movie
that's
is
what
action.
Snyder is
that's what
good
he does.
at. Yeah,
and it's so
when he kicks the guy off the cliff, it was great. Like that's why everyone remembers that. Yeah,
there was a Greek and Roman inspired magic set. Let's go back to magic real quick. That had a not Sparta faction that were the colors that I liked.
Yeah.
And that got me all juiced up to watch 300 and fucking Gladiator and other shit that's like
300 Rise
Troy.
of an Empire.
I did watch that. That movie was awful.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But I watched Troy and shit too. So I got really into like that time period like movies and shit. And I just remember being like, yeah, the violence is where it's at.
Yeah.
It's so, but like I was only there for the violence. I wasn't there for the social commentary. So that's on me.
Yeah. I still can't get over the line. Unlike those boy lovers in Athens,
I know, right?
Motherfucker, y'all were fucking each other. What the fuck? And like the Spartans started at 14 at minimum, or maybe even lower. Honestly,
I have no idea when they started.
I know they were fucking each other, and the boys too.
Yeah. I think what's funny is like apparently they were known to be like real dickheads. Like nobody in Greece or anybody else like liked them.
Yeah,
they were just like constantly starting fights and
they were the frat guys of ancient Greece.
Yeah.
Like of course they were.
Even Spartans didn't like Spartans. It was funny. It's a funny little like if you really want to read about it, man. They were like just jerks.
Of course. So many action films are guilty of this, including John Wick, which shares a writer with this film, incidentally.
Yeah.
But why do some of the enemies solely use melee weapons and some only use guns? This is a trite complaint, I know, but this film does not exactly allow you to ignore this, as it wants to be a hardcore sci-fi war film and a fantasy epic with swords at the same time. And it doesn't bother to pull the same tricks that Star Wars does to get away with this, Yeah,
their swords are physical. They're not lasers. They're like heat blades.
Well,
so they can't deflect.
Yes and no. Yeah, exactly. They don't really explain it, obviously, because they don't care to.
Yeah,
but
they can't deflect bullets. The bullets are lasers, so like that's not going to happen.
There's like some real
They're
bullets.
solid slug.
Yeah, because at least the farmers definitely have like real ammunition. I don't know if all the soldiers necessarily do.
Yeah. But
I'm assuming so, though. Because they're shooting it feels like they're shooting rounds at many points.
I guess I can't remember. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
It's so stupid.
But in this movie, they don't have the Force. They don't or something similar. They don't have any way to justify melee combat in a futuristic setting like Dune does.
Yeah.
Once again, a more competent director doing, interesting things. Like we have melee combat in this specifically because
and Dune is very specific about it's more about the environment, why they're able to fight in hand-to-hand combat because it's their advantage.
Yeah.
They're able to stealthily hide within the environment and fight like guerrilla fighters.
But not just that, the enemies can't use shields.
Right, because of the heat and everything and all that stuff. Yeah. Like everything is so well explained in Dune.
Yep.
And in Star Wars, it's all over the place because there's so many different interpretations and versions of it now. There's a million hours of Star Wars shit you can watch. But in the movies, it's fine. It's not to the point where you get annoyed about it. You know what I mean?
A person uses a ranged weapon because that's the advantage.
Right. And then there are trained people with the laser swords.
Yes.
Because they're honestly just as effective, if not more, than a gun.
Yeah. They can perceive when a threat is coming and they can deflect that, dodge it, what have you, and get up close to, because, you don't have to reload a sword as from V Vendetta says,
But in this movie,
there's no reason.
No, it's so stupid. Why is there just a whole battalion of guys with just swords? And they could have just mowed them down with guns.
Yeah. It's Zack Snyder seeing Warhammer and being like, yeah, we can do that.
But they have both, right? In Warhammer?
They do, but specifically, there's an ongoing joke in the 41st millennium we hack each other apart with fucking chainsaws.
Yeah.
There is melee combat in there.
Because it's cool,
It is because it's cool, but also the people who are doing melee are either so agile that they can dodge bullets to get up close and stab one dude in the neck and they're dead.
Yeah.
Easy kill. Or they're dudes wearing literal tank armor on them
that can negate ranged combat.
Yeah, they can just walk through bullets and then hack you apart with a fucking chainsaw.
Yeah.
So it's once again there is a justification there, and so because in that universe you have things that can do melee, you now have to prepare for melee, and there's the justification that exists. Yeah. In this movie, it's just it looks cool, so we're gonna do it. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. That's anyway, but I know that's a CinemaSins ass thing to bitch about. So, but I wanted to get it out there.
It's lazy world building, dude.
I already complained about how a few of the characters look so much alike. It was kind of hard for me to track a couple of the characters. I was constantly confusing E. Duffy and Sophia Boutella.
Yeah,
and Michael Huseman with Stuart Martin. I had to look up who the actors were just to be like, okay, they were this guy. So Anthony Hopkins' robot character shows up, Deus Machina style, in the fight at a crucial time and is just performing the Superman shit like I was saying.
Yeah.
No joke, he is just performing the exact same moves that Superman does in Snyder's DC films. This film is so derivative that Snyder literally just rips himself off. I have a whole complaint.
Let's hear it.
About when the Blood Axe show up. What the fuck is actually happening at the end? Once Korra and Gunnar kill Noble for the final time, the mercenaries from the first film finally make an appearance and just show up in fighter ships and chase off a squadron of fighter ships that weren't there a second ago. They were non-existent a beat earlier. I get that this is supposed to be the cavalry has finally arrived type of scene, but these stakes were not established. This seems to just come out of nowhere.
It's very stupid. Did I point out in the last episode that the Blood Axes are a type of orc clan? Literally called the Blood Axes?
I feel like you may have said that. Yeah. It's been a few months, though. This is January that we recorded that. Of course, though. Of course it wasn't an original name. It's too cool to not get ripped off. Cool. And of course, we were robbed of an original real ending and more sequel setup. I mean, literally, they could not even give us a real end. Nope. It was just, she's not really dead. We'll all join you. We'll see you again in Rebel Moon 3.
You have my bow and my axe. Fuck this movie.
It's bad. Put it in the trash. So Furiosa's out.
Yeah, I know. I have not yet seen it. I know you've seen it.
Dear listener, please check out Furiosa. It's not doing super hot at the box office, which whatever, like we don't need to justify every, art's existence with like, profit, but this movie deserves to make money. And
people are definitely pointing at it and being like,
oh yeah, it is getting the go woke, go broke treatment, which is so funny because Fury Road actually Fury Road didn't do that hot either, but it did critically.
Yeah.
God, I fucking hate these guys.
It's bad, man.
I'm tempted to look up to see if Grums has said anything about Furiosa.
Yeah, let's do a quick Grums check real quick.
We're not doing Grums.
We're gonna do Grums Corner.
Our Grums
Corner on this podcast. Let's see what Grums is up to right now.
What the fuck did Grums say about Furiosa today?
That's right.
There's a lot of good movies that have come out recently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's blockbuster season too.
It is.
Do you want to cover If?
No. I have no interest in that.
I want to crawl out of my skin every time I have to sit through that trailer in the theater.
Yeah, it's not interesting to me. But like I feel it's for kids, is it not? Is that like not a movie for children? No, it's not?
I mean,
I assumed it was.
Is it trying to be a 4-quadrant movie?
It feels like it's just live action Foster's House of Imaginary
but I
friends.
feel like even kids' movies are better than that garbage. Saying that as someone who has sat through hours of Sesame Street these last couple of months.
Yeah, that's not true though.
I would rather watch 3 hours of Sesame Street than that fucking movie.
There are movies that are slop.
No, I get that,
kids.
but they're trash. They're trash pumped out for children to just make money.
Yeah.
And
you don't feel like this is?
No, If does not look like someone's passion project. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
Neither does Something in the Purple Crayon, the movie from the guy that did Shazam that cried on camera about his movie not doing well because it was getting
anti-vax guy.
He was an anti-vaxxer, and what was Shazam getting beat by? Oh, John Wick 4, wasn't it? And he was like crying about it on TikTok.
Heart. It's really sad because the first Shazam movie was so good. Yeah. Like so good and so underrated. That second movie was so bad. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to see If though. I think that Ryan Reynolds is a very charming guy and whatnot. I have no interest. Don't you have Mint Mobile? Hold on a second.
I do. I have Ryan Reynolds' phone service.
Aren't you a dick writer?
I mean, he bought it after I was already a member, but it's so cheap. I can't.
Your computer turned on. Let's see what Grums is up to.
No, I'm not looking up Grums. God damn it! I hate that I even invoked him on this.
You shouldn't have said it.
His legion of fans are going to swarm our podcast.
Finally, we'll have
boost our
eyes.
listeners, but we have like the worst crowd listening. No, this episode is poison because we talk shit about the Zack Snyder movie too. And now Grums.
Hey, look,
the worst people are going to be antagonizing us online.
Everything is content, baby. I don't even look at comments if there is any.
On ours?
Yeah.
No. I get like people reach out to me individually and tell me like, hey, it was fun. I'm like, thanks, man.
And we appreciate you listening.
Oh, I don't think I've recorded an episode really since, but the friend that Steven and I made when we saw Hereditary in the theater, Trevor, reached out to me and was like, hey, great episode and thanks for the shout out. And I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
Fuck
so like,
that's great.
That stuff's always nice.
That is nice.
I am so behind on movies this year. But there is a lot of great ones. And I'm making, a point to see like the big releases in theaters. Right. I saw Dune and Furiosa.
Yeah, because we had to. Yeah. We saw Godzilla vs. Kong, and Godzilla. X-Con, whatever. But we had to do that. That was an experience.
You have to see Godzilla. They're saying you have to see Godzilla, folks.
You do. He's a great guy.
Big, beautiful monster came up to me with tears in his eyes.
He killed the monkey. He had to do it. The monkey wouldn't let him, live in peace. He had to do it. 34 times he shot his laser at that monkey. He is an innocent lizard. You have got to stop getting me fucking wound up, man. This is your fault.
King Kong did everything right and they indicted him. God damn it.
Mother Mothra could not get out of this conviction. She couldn't.
What's the fucking shard knife that evil orangutan guy
They
had?
didn't give it a name, but it's like it's a crystal of Shimo's body. Right. So what was it? Okay. What was that? I did not use the crystal. Shimo was acting on her own account. I did not pay. I'm glad I can get you laughing. What were we talking? Oh, the movies that we haven't seen. Like, so yeah, Monkey Man is something that we would like to cover.
So upcoming episodes, we've got Monkey Man, Furiosa in the can. Yep. If we're going to be covering The Prestige soon.
Yes. Civil War, even though like,
we should cover that.
I would like to watch that.
Yeah, I'll get over it and just watch it.
Yeah. And you said you have some horror movies on there too?
Yeah, Immaculate.
And
then there's a new Omen movie.
That's right. You
That's
were saying
apparently
it's getting
great.
Good buzz.
It's called The First Omen.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you, the trailer was like just so.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of shocked. I'm like, they're doing
It's a
another
franchise
fucking Omen.
film.
But apparently it's like, it really goes places.
Cool.
And like,
Good.
I have to give a shout out to like a guy on Twitter that I followed for years that just passed recently.
Oh.
Scott Wampler.
What a name.
He was a great dude. He hosted the Stephen King podcast.
Oh, okay.
He also had like a Hellraiser podcast that was coming out soon that they already recorded episodes for. I know.
What a bummer.
But like I followed this guy on Twitter for like 7 years. Like he's like been a main character of my Twitter, and like we've even interacted a few times. Like he is like such a funny dude.
Yeah.
And he just like randomly passed away recently.
That's unfortunate.
And because he was such a big name in like the horror and film sphere, because he was a critic.
Yeah.
You know. But he was so prolific on Twitter and on the internet that like Stephen King, Guillermo del Toro, Scott Derrickson, like all these like big name people were like paying tribute to him recently because they knew him and he had interviewed them and stuff. And it was just really sad, man. Yeah. Oh, he has a legendary interview with Ryan Johnson where he runs out of questions and he's like, okay, I was supposed to interview Rob Zombie today, but he bailed on our interview. So do you mind if I pitch you some of the questions I had for Rob Zombie? And Ryan Johnson's like, sure. Okay. Yeah, whatever. And he goes, okay, so in your song Dragula, he's like, great. You mentioned that you're like burning through the ditches and slamming through witches. And he's like, but the real Herman Monsters Dragula like probably would fall apart doing these things. Like, you need to explain yourself, sir. And Ryan Johnson's like, listen, when I wrote that song, it was for art's sake. You know? He just starts grilling him. It's great.
That's good. Did he ask him why he's constantly putting Sherry Moon's ass into all of his films?
No, but that's good.
That is a good one.
I mean, I assume it's just because that's his wife and he loves her, you know, and he wants to share her beautiful body with the world.
Take a look at my wife's great ass.
But yeah, R.I.P. Scott Wampler.
Yeah.
Great dude. Listen to the Kingcast. You know,
I'll have to check it out.
That's a fun show.
That's sad. I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Because we were catching up because we are so back, baby. Me and Haley tried to watch Madame Web.
Oh no.
In Colorado. And we turned it off.
Good.
It was like that bad. It was so bad it was not funny. It was not Morbius. Like it was just bad.
Have you watched the entire thing yet?
No, I can't. I can't do it.
Can I spoil something for you?
Yeah.
So she has apparently a lot. I only know about this through like other podcasts that covered the movie because I don't think I'll suffer through it. But there is a letter P plays like an ominous role. She keeps having like visions of like the letter P in her mind.
Yeah.
And it's because the P from a Pepsi sign falls off of a building and like almost crushes her later in the film.
Are you fucking serious? It's not
like Pepsi plays like a recurring role in this film. There's like Pepsi like cans and logos and because of product placement, obviously, but it's so dumb.
I got to the part where they were doing the toxic dance sequence.
Oh,
the
I
fight
heard about
scene to
that
toxic.
too. Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's very funny that the villain like brutally kills these girls like multiple times in like flashbacks or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was boring and bad. It was just not good. And like it was so bad.
And like, I understand Sydney Sweeney keeps covering up herself with a sweater.
Yeah.
And
they're hiding them, dude.
That's what
this
the podcast I was listening to was like, that's kind of her thing. Why do they keep making her cover it up?
This movie is so woke. They covered Sydney Sweeney's.
They're afraid to show breasts,
boobies, and that's just not cool. She can do more than that.
Oh,
just
yeah,
FYI. She.
I hear she's amazing in Euphoria, right? She's great in that.
Fantastic in Euphoria. Yeah. Fantastic performance. She produced Immaculate.
Oh yeah, I hear that movie's great. Like I want to watch it.
Yeah, I think she's in it too. So like
she is. She's the lead.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I genuinely like Sydney Sweeney. All jokes aside, I actually think she's a good actress.
I've not seen a single thing with her in it, to my knowledge. But like, I understand she's actually great. But like, really weird people keep latching onto her and being like, "Oh, she's great."
No, they want to latch onto her. They can't.
Yeah, you're
because they're adult men. I'm so good, baby. Okay, are we good? We went off on a tangent there.
We're all right. I think I have there's some steelbooks to pre-order. So
oh, right on. Hell yeah, dude.
Well, folks, that's been our show. Thank you for listening to Debaser. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to us on your podcast app and follow us on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. Our wonderful co-host is Will Taylor. Will, where can people find you, and would you like to plug anything?
You can find me on Instagram at pocket_infinity. Plug anything? Not really. This show. I like this show.
Oh, yeah.
I actually listened to us quite a bit on my flight to and from Colorado.
Nice.
Not that I don't listen to our episodes. It's just like
doing some quality control.
Yeah, I've already been there, But like Hereditary was really good. That was actually a good conversation.
That's one of our best episodes.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely. I even felt it in the moment. I was like, this is a good one.
Yeah.
We're also same day on YouTube now.
That's right.
Because YouTube revamped their whole thing. So we go up on YouTube the same day we go up on all the podcast
Hell yeah.
apps.
So if you don't do apps and you want to just have YouTube fucking up on your phone.
Which a lot of people do.
Yeah,
I've had fucking Jeremy. Shout out Jeremy. I know that's what he does.
That's right. Yeah. I listen to 4-hour long video essays. So
right.
Yeah. So boom.
Fucking
good.
A. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Debaser is hosted and produced by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. If you write a 5-star review of Debaser on Apple Podcasts, I may read your review in a future episode. Thanks for listening, and take care out there.